The story begins in a small Belgian town called Ole on December 25, 1999. On that cold Christmas day, a little boy suddenly goes missing. The police start their investigation but can't find any sign of an abduction. So the local officer suspects that the child may have wandered into the nearby forest by accident. He gathers all the townspeople and tells them they'll start a search in the northern forest. The civil protection services would join them the next day. He warns everyone not to touch the child if they find him unconscious, because the cold weather could put him at risk of hypothermia. But what really happened? To understand that, we have to go back a few days to December 22nd, 1999. We meet Antoine, a 12-year-old boy who lives with his single mother. She works long hours and usually leaves for work around 4 p.m. Since it's the weekend, Antoine decides to visit Dr. Howard. On his way, he meets his friend Emily, who is heading to Miss Anne's house. As usual, Antoine plays with Emily's black and white dog, throwing the ball again and again, while the dog happily fetches it. Just then, Emily's mother calls out, reminding her that Emily's father forgot his lunch. She asks Emily to take her little brother, Remy, along. Emily will go to Anne's house, and Remy will deliver the lunch to his dad's factory. So the three of them start walking together. Remy is just 6.5 years old, a curious and cheerful kid. He loves reading Antoine's science books and finds them fascinating. After a short walk, they reach Miss Anne's house, where Emily stays. Antoine and Remy then continue their walk with the dog. As they go, Antoine tells Remy a few fun facts about science, and soon they reach Dr. Howard's clinic. The doctor is impressed that Antoine finished reading the book he had given him so quickly. He gives Antoine another one, this time about human anatomy, along with a small wrapped box. Dr. Howard smiles and says, "Open it on Christmas Day, son." After that, Antoine and Remy head toward the factory where Remy's father works. Inside, the factory owner is talking about selling the place because of heavy losses. But Remy's father, Michael, disagrees. He insists they should try to keep it running. When little Remy comes in with the lunchbox, the men snatch it from his hands and scold him harshly, telling him to go away. Embarrassed and upset, Remy walks out with Antoine. As they leave, Remy says something shocking. He tells Antoine, "I'm glad your dad is dead. I wish my dad was dead too. He's always yelling at me." Antoine gets upset and replies, "Don't say that, Remy." Then he adds, "Hey, do you want to come to the forest with me? But it'll be our secret. Don't tell anyone, not even your sister." Remy agrees happily. On their way, they stop by a small shop to buy some snacks. There, Antoine meets Theo and his friend, two teenagers from the same town. Theo recognizes him and says, "In a small place like Ole, everyone knows everyone." After chatting for a bit, Theo and his friend drive off on their scooter. Antoine buys a few groceries and heads into the forest with Remy. Hidden deep in the woods, he's built a small wooden shelter that he proudly calls his cabin. The boys sit there, eat their food, and play cards. During their talk, Remy asks, "When will you show Kevin to Emily?" Antoine answers, "Tomorrow." Then Remy says, "Can I come too?" Antoine shakes his head. "No, I want to spend some time alone with her." Remy looks disappointed, and in that moment, we see something important. Antoine has feelings for Emily, and this innocent moment quietly plants the seed for the tragedy that's about to unfold. After some time, Antoine drops little Remy at his house. On his way back, he notices Theo's scooter parked in front of Emily's house. Curious, he walks closer, but when he looks through the garden, he's shocked. Theo is kissing Emily. Antoine freezes for a moment. His heart feels like it's breaking. Without saying a word, he turns and runs away. He rushes home, tears in his eyes, and tries to unlock the door with trembling hands. The dog, who has been with him all day, barks and wants to play again, asking him to throw the ball. Frustrated and angry, Antoine grabs the ball and throws it outside without looking. The dog runs after it, but suddenly it runs straight under Frederick's car. A loud noise follows. A woman from the neighborhood hurries over. Together, Antoine, the lady, and Frederick watch helplessly as the dog takes its last breath. It's gone. Michael, Remy's father, also sees the scene. Frederick tries to explain nervously, "It wasn't my fault. The dog just ran in front of the car." Michael doesn't reply. He walks into his house silently and comes back out holding his rifle. Everyone freezes in fear, thinking he's going to shoot Frederick. But then, Michael turns the gun on his own injured dog and shoots it. Then he wraps the body in a black plastic bag and throws it into the garbage bin. Everyone is shocked. Michael's dog just died, but instead of sadness, he looks full of anger and rage. His reaction feels strange and scary. That night, when Antoine's mother returns from work, she finds her son sitting quietly at the table, rolling a ball in his hands. His face looks pale and distant. She assumes he's not feeling well, and tells him to rest. The next morning, Antoine looks out the window and sees garbage collectors taking away the bags, including the one with the dog's body. As they leave, he spots Emily and Theo talking on the street. Now Antoine feels completely broken. He's lost his beloved dog, and Emily, whom he liked, is now spending time with Theo. He was supposed to take Emily to see the cabin he built in the forest that day, but she never came. In anger and pain, he goes to the woods and starts destroying the cabin, kicking and breaking everything apart. Just then, Remy appears. He had followed Antoine and asks, "What are you doing? We play here, right? Why are you breaking it?" Antoine, still upset, shouts, "Go away! Mind your own business!" and angrily throws a stick to the side. But the stick accidentally hits Remy on the head, and the little boy falls hard against a wooden board. Antoine runs to him in panic, calling his name again and again, but Remy doesn't move. He checks his pulse. Nothing. Remy is dead. Terrified, Antoine bursts into tears and runs away. But then fear takes over. He realizes if anyone finds out, he'll be in serious trouble. So he goes back, picks up Remy's body, and hides it in a narrow gap between two large rocks, deep and dark, where no one can see anything from the outside. Afterward, he quietly heads back home, trying not to be noticed. On the way, he sees Mr. Kowalski's van passing by and later notices Theo riding away on his scooter near his house. He assumes no one saw him, but when he gets home, Antoine realizes his jacket is torn, probably scratched by the rocks, and his watch is missing. It must have fallen somewhere in the forest. Meanwhile, Remy's mother starts to worry when she can't find her son. She searches the whole area and even asks people nearby if they've seen him. Theo, riding his scooter, also joins in the search. When Remy's mother meets him, he tells her that he just saw Antoine coming home a while ago. This means Antoine was seen, even though he thought no one noticed him. Soon, Remy's mother comes to Antoine's house and asks gently, "Have you seen Remy?" Antoine lies, "No, I haven't." Then she says, "Can you go call Remy's father?" He's still at the factory protesting. Antoine glances at his torn jacket hanging on the stairs and decides not to wear it, afraid someone will notice the tear. He goes out in just his shirt, even though it's freezing cold, while everyone else is wrapped in warm clothes, searching desperately for the missing boy. After some time, Antoine goes back home and hides his jacket and sweater under the bed. Suddenly, he hears the sound of police sirens outside. His heart starts racing. Remy's father has called the police. A whole day passes, but Remy is still missing. The town starts worrying. The local news reports the disappearance, and Antoine watches it quietly with his mother. He looks sad and guilty, but his mother tries to comfort him. "Don't worry, Antoine. They'll find Remy soon. Remember Martine's son? He also went missing once, but later they found him sleeping in the laundry basket." The next morning, the police come to question Antoine. One officer says, "Remy's mother told us that he was playing in their garden after you left. Did you see him?" Antoine replies, "Yes, I saw him, but he wasn't playing. He was standing on the road looking at the place where his father shot the dog." The officers look surprised and they didn't know about that incident. So they go and question Michael, Remy's father. Michael explains honestly, "It was an accident. The dog was badly hurt, and I couldn't watch it suffer, so I shot it to end its pain." The officer frowns and says, "You used a rifle inside the city. That's illegal," Michael replies. "You can deal with that later. First, find my son. The dog is gone, but I need my boy alive." However, the police continue questioning him. One officer says, "You said you left for the factory at 9:15. It takes 15 minutes to get there, but the workers say you arrived at 10 o'clock. Where were you for those 45 minutes? Michael hesitates. "I don't remember clearly. Maybe I stopped somewhere for coffee." The officer responds, "We checked. No one saw you at any cafe." Because of this, the police arrest Michael for further questioning. They search all around the town, the rivers, drains, and woods, but they can't find Remy. Eventually, Michael is released because a gas tanker driver testifies that he saw Michael talking to him during that missing time. Later that day, Antoine's mother comes home and tells him the police have arrested Mr. Kowalski because his van was seen near the forest around the time Remy disappeared. Mr. Kowalski happens to be Antoine's mother's boss, who owns a small retail business. That night, Antoine and his mother go to church for Christmas prayers. Outside, they overhear a few women gossiping about Mr. Kowalski. Antoine's mother says, "The police searched his house and his shop but found no proof he did anything." But one woman replies sharply, "Then why couldn't he explain why his van was in the woods? He must be hiding something." They all enter the church, where the whole town prays together for Remy. In the middle of the prayer, Michael loses control. Crying and shouting, he says, "My son is missing, and instead of looking for him, you're sitting here praying." The priest tries to calm him down and says gently, "Tomorrow morning, we'll all meet at the town hall. Together with the police, we'll continue searching for little Remy." Everyone nods quietly and returns home, their hearts heavy with worry, while only Antoine knows what really happened in the forest. On Christmas morning, Antoine's mother gives him a small gift, and he's delighted. Smiling, he also gives her the present he bought for her. Then he opens Dr. Howard's gift, the one he was told to open on Christmas Day. Inside, he finds a small doll skeleton, a symbolic gift from the doctor, who always encouraged Antoine's dream of becoming a doctor himself. The next day, December 25th, 1999, the story catches up to where it began. The people of Ole gather near the town hall, preparing to search the forest for little Remy. The police organize the groups, but the children are told not to join. Still, when the adults head into the woods, the kids sneak away to follow them. As they wander, Theo asks Antoine, "Did you really see Remy's dad kill his dog?" Antoine nods. Theo shrugs and says coldly, "Good. That dog was awful anyway." These words make Antoine furious. He grabs Theo, and the two boys start fighting. The commotion draws everyone's attention, and the adults rush over to separate them. As night begins to fall, the search is called off for the day. That night, Antoine sits alone in his room, overwhelmed with guilt and sadness. The weight of Remy's death, the grief of Remy's parents, and the chaos around him become unbearable. In despair, he swallows a large amount of his mother's medicine, hoping to end his life. Tears roll down his cheeks as he lies in bed, waiting for death. But death doesn't come. His mother, noticing the empty medicine packets in the wash basin, panics and calls a doctor. The doctor arrives just in time and manages to save Antoine. Everyone believes that Antoine tried to harm himself because he was heartbroken over his missing friend, not knowing the truth behind his pain. Later, when Antoine wakes up, he sees his mother quietly sewing his torn jacket, the same one from the day Remy died. Fear and guilt strike him again, and he quickly retreats to his room, terrified that she might start asking questions. That night, a massive storm hits the town. Wind and rain tear through Ola, destroying homes and uprooting trees. The forest, the same one hiding Remy's body, is completely devastated. Antoine and his mother are both injured in the chaos. The next day, the news reports the disaster. The destruction is so severe that it will take the townspeople years to rebuild their lives. With everyone focused on survival and recovery, Remy's disappearance slowly fades from memory. The forest becomes a dangerous, broken mess of fallen trees, and no one dares to explore it anymore. The scene then shifts 15 years later. After studying in the city, Antoine returns to Ole for Christmas. He's now a qualified doctor, planning to spend a month with his mother before moving to Egypt for work. Dr. Howard, now elderly and close to retirement, can't find anyone to take over his small clinic. At a Christmas party, some of the townspeople joke, "Antoine, you should take Dr. Howard's place." Antoine laughs and says, "No way. I want to travel the world. I don't want to work from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. like Dr. Howard." At that same party, Antoine meets his childhood crush, Emily. They talk for a while, catching up on life. Curious, Antoine asks about Theo, who used to date her. Emily rolls her eyes and says, "He turned out to be a total loser. Dating him was the biggest mistake of my life. We broke up after a few months and I married Jerome a few years later." Smiling, Antoine admits, "You know, I had a huge crush on you when we were kids. I was just waiting for a chance." Emily laughs and replies softly, "Well, I thought you were cute too." As time passes, Antoine and Emily start meeting more often. Their closeness grows, and one afternoon, when Antoine's mother is away, he invites Emily over to his house. They talk, laugh, and eventually become intimate. For a while, everything feels perfect, calm and happy. They lie quietly next to each other, enjoying the peaceful moment. Suddenly, Antoine hears the front door open. His mother is home. She calls out his name from downstairs. Startled, Antoine whispers to Emily, "Stay here. Don't make a sound. I'll go down first and distract her. Once I take her to the kitchen, you can sneak out." Emily nods nervously. Antoine goes downstairs, talks to his mother, and keeps her busy while Emily quietly slips out of the house. Over the next few days, Antoine stays in town and hears some worrying news. The old wood factory that had been shut down for years is reopening. The new owner has ordered massive tree-cutting operations in the nearby forest. The moment Antoine hears this, his stomach twists in fear. That forest hides his deepest secret, the place where he buried Remy's body 15 years ago. Unable to calm his anxiety, Antoine decides to check the spot himself. Late at night, he packs a flashlight, gloves, and some tools into a backpack and heads toward the forest. The cold wind blows through the dark trees as he reaches the familiar place, the deep crevice between the rocks. His hands tremble as he shines the light down, searching for any trace of the skeleton. But suddenly he notices someone else nearby, a factory guard, watching over the heavy machines placed in the forest for the upcoming work. Panicking, Antoine quickly turns off his flashlight and runs back through the trees, his heart pounding. The next morning, Antoine wakes to the sound of his mother crying. Confused, he rushes to her and asks what happened. Through tears, she says, "They found Remy." Antoine's blood runs cold. His face turns pale, and guilt rushes back stronger than ever. Later that day, the police announced the results of the autopsy. It confirms that Remy didn't die naturally. He was killed. The report says he was struck on the right side of the head with a blunt object, possibly a rock or a stick. The good news, they add, is that there were no signs of abuse. However, investigators also discovered a strand of hair near the body that didn't belong to Remy. DNA tests reveal it came from a man. At first, the police suspect Mr. Kowalski, Antoine's mother's boss, since his van had been seen near the woods years ago. They test his DNA, but it doesn't match the hair. Now Remy's father, Michael, becomes desperate. He urges the police, "Then test everyone in Ole. Someone here killed my son." But the officers tell him, the killer may not even be from Ole. It could have been someone from another nearby town. "Don't worry, we'll keep the DNA preserved. If not today, then one day we'll find the match." Antoine listens to all this with a storm of panic inside him. Every word feels like a blade twisting deeper into his guilt. But things get worse when Emily visits him again, with shocking news. "I'm pregnant," she says quietly. Antoine stares at her in disbelief. "Are you sure it's mine?" "Yes," Emily replies firmly. "Jerome and I have been trying to have a baby for years, but it never happened. And now, after being with you, I finally am." Antoine rubs his face, whispering, "You know that abortions are possible up to 14 weeks? Emily cuts him off angrily. "Are you crazy? I'm not going to abort my baby. I'm thinking of leaving Jerome. We should be together. This is our chance, Antoine. My marriage to Jerome was arranged. We have no connection, no love. But with you, I feel alive." Antoine looks away, his voice low. "But I don't love you, Emily. I'm leaving for Egypt in 2 weeks. I don't know when I'll be back. Maybe not for years." Her expression hardens. "What do you mean you don't love me? We've spent so much time together. You don't even have a girlfriend. So what's the problem?" When Antoine stays silent, Emily's tone turns cold and threatening. "If you don't take responsibility, I'll go to the police. I'll file a complaint and demand a DNA test. Everyone will know you're the father. If you refuse, I'll raise this child here, and everyone in Ole will know the truth. Imagine how your mother will face them. She'll never leave this town, you know that. She wants to spend her last years here." These words shake Antoine to the core. He feels trapped. The past is closing in from every side. The fear of the police finding out about Remy and the pressure from Emily push him toward the edge. That night, he sits alone in his room, unable to sleep, staring into the dark, wondering what he can possibly do to escape the mess his life has become. That same night, Dr. Howard visits Antoine. Sitting quietly, he looks at him and says, "Antoine, I know what you did to Remy. I've suspected it ever since you tried to end your life 15 years ago. But that storm changed everything. The next day, people were too busy rebuilding their lives to look for the truth. You left for the city, and life moved on. Still, I've written a letter to the police about my suspicions. I plan to send it tomorrow." After saying this, Dr. Howard leaves. Later that night, worried and desperate, Antoine goes to the doctor's clinic. He looks him in the eye and says, "If you promise not to send that letter to the police, I'll buy your clinic right now." Dr. Howard agrees. For a moment, Antoine feels relief, believing that the past has finally stopped haunting him. But peace doesn't last long. One day, Mr. Kowalski visits Antoine's clinic. He hands him an envelope and says quietly, "Everyone believed I was the one who killed Remy. I stayed silent because I had no choice. That day, I saw you running through the woods, terrified. I stopped my van and went after you. That's when I found your watch. I wanted to return it, but when I heard that Remy had disappeared, I decided to stay quiet, to protect you. Your mother and I cared for each other deeply, and she loved you more than anything. I couldn't bear to separate you from her." Kowalski leaves, and Antoine opens the envelope. Inside, he finds his old watch, the one he lost 15 years ago. His hands tremble as he realizes that Kowalski has known the truth all along, yet never exposed him. The story then moves 3 years ahead. Antoine is now married to Emily, and they have a child together. He lives in the same town with his mother and seems to have built a peaceful life. Antoine even cares for Michael, Remy's father, who has grown old and drinks heavily. To the world, everything looks perfect. A happy family, a kind doctor, and a good son. But deep inside, Antoine is never truly free. The guilt of Remy's death continues to eat at him. He knows that if that tragic accident had never happened, his life would have been completely different. He could have lived freely, followed his dreams, maybe even gone to Egypt, just as he always planned. Instead, he's trapped in Ole, surrounded by the ghosts of his past. One evening, as Antoine sits down for dinner, he looks at his plate. On it, there's a painted picture of a beautiful landscape, a reminder of the world he once dreamed to explore. His eyes fill with sadness. The dream of flying freely, like a bird across the world, was never meant for him. Just then, Emily calls out, asking where he was lost in thought. Antoine quickly forces a smile and pretends to be cheerful again, hiding the pain inside. And that's how the story ends, friends, with a man who escaped the law, but not his own conscience. Because no matter how far one runs, life always finds a way to make us face the truth. Thank you for watching, and take care of yourselves.